Lou Alcindor led that team. They did then make another appearance at the 1974 finals, but didn't win that one. So you know what? I knew that Brennan was going to. I knew it. I knew it. I saw.
Okay. You knew it was coming.
I saw the look on his face.
The devil is always busy, isn't it?
I saw the look on his face and knew it was about to be messy.
Little demon, little baby demon. You heard a baby driver? Here go baby demon over here.
I thought I saw you.
Boy, you ain't worth it.
I saw you worth the hook. I thought that you was on the baseline.
Dude, I told you in 1974 I was on that team. I got cut in 1971.
Okay, my bad.
There you have it. I knew the whole time I was talking as soon as I saw his face. Oh, that's Brennan Haywood, by the way.
Thank
That's
you. I'll be
Sam
here
Mitchell.
all night.
I'm Kristen Ledlow. We are actually here all night. This is Playoff Central Live presented by AT&T 5G. We're here for all of the post-game press conferences from both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks as well. But let me start, Coach, which how? How did they do this with Giannis sidelined?
Complete team effort. Look, we talked about this before the game. Even though we were hoping and thinking the Hawks could pull this off with the crowd being at home, Trae Young, a Willis Reed moment, Milwaukee was just too good, too deep. And when you look at Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Brook Lopez, people forget those three guys have been all-stars. Chris Middleton, a recent all-star, but Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday. And when you get to this time of the year, your stars show up because that's what you pay those guys for. And today, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday was unbelievable. They put this team on their back, and they spread the ball around just enough to keep Atlanta off balance. But when they needed a basket, when they got out to that big lead and Atlanta kept chipping away, it was either Drew or Chris Middleton with that dagger play or a drive to the basket with a circus shot. So the Milwaukee Bucks have been the best team in the NBA the last 3 years. They've had the best overall record the last 3 years. And finally, the best team in the East is going to the Eastern Conference Finals this year.
When I look at this team, I look at what Middleton brought to the table. I also look at what Holiday did as far as with his defense, his passing, and all of that. And at the end of the day, when the chips were on the line in that third quarter, Middleton just gave him life. And he just was hitting shot after shot after shot. And in the fourth quarter, Holiday's like, hey, don't worry about it. It's my time. Then Holiday came in and he had some big moments. And I thought the biggest bucket of the game for me was when Atlanta went on that run, and I think they cut it to around like 6 points. And then Drew Holiday came down with that contested layup, and he scored it in there. That was tough. They had to call a timeout after that. If he didn't score a bucket right there, all the momentum was going Atlanta's way. That crowd was finally starting to wake up. I guess it was a late arriving crowd because they didn't they didn't have that. The crowd didn't really have that.
They didn't.
The crowd didn't have that playoff energy that I've seen in other arenas. That wasn't like the Knicks arena.
The last 5 minutes of that game, that's when the crowd really got into it. If they could have been like that from the jump ball, who knows? But give Milwaukee credit, man. The thing that you have to do on the road team, you got to take the crowd out the game.
Yeah.
And they took the crowd out early, and they just put their foot on the Hawks, and they just stayed on them. They stayed consistent. And you said it. Every time the Hawks got some life, either Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton or Brook Lopez, they kind of snuffed it out. And give the Hawks credit, man. Look, Trae Young, valiant effort.
He wasn't right. Trae wasn't
even close. But you knew he was going to want to play in this game. Atlanta fought hard, young team. They should be back in the future. But, man, Milwaukee is seasoned. They got the right veterans. If they get Giannis back healthy, man, this has a chance to be an unbelievable finals.
And you say it, Brendan, Trae wasn't right. He did have to sit out the last couple with the bone bruise on his right foot. But what does this postseason run say about his status in the league?
Well, what this run says about Trae Young is that he's an emerging superstar in this league. And there's not many guys that can do what he does. And what I mean by that is there's some guys that can score, and then there's some guys that can pass. But there aren't many guys that in playoff games they can go like, hey, I'm about to hit you for 40 and I'm going to get 10 assists. Most guys aren't able to diversify the way Trae does. And then he is so small, but yet he gets down the lane, and with that floater, it's like he plays big. It's like he's 6'5", even though he's only 6 feet tall. So Trae has announced to the NBA world, hey, I've arrived. I'm not just here getting stats. Because, last year around All-Star time, Sam, last year's All-Star game, not this year. Last year, he just gets stats. They're talking about, does he impact winning and all that? And this year, he wasn't even an All-Star, even though I think he deserved to be. Well, now we know he's definitely an All-Star. He does impact winning, and now the rest of the league knows. Because when you do it on the big stage like this, there's no other games being played. You have great games in the regular season. There's maybe 13, 14 games on that night. But in the playoffs, everybody's just watching you, and they watch Trey grow up right before our eyes.
I agree. Everybody kept saying, the comparison with Luka and Trey. Did the Hawks make a mistake by look at what Luka's doing? Well, look at what Trey's done. If I remember correctly, the Dallas Mavericks went home in the first round. Trey Young took his team to a Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Don't do that.
Well, I'm not comparing, but these two are always going to be compared by where they drafted. But I think it's time now to close that gap.
Yes.
For a long time, everybody had Luka up here, and Trey is one of those guys, just a good player that could get his. You put some talent around Trey, and Trey figured out how to make everyone else better, and not just that, to take his game to a higher level. When you can make your teammates better, and you take your game to a higher level, you said it, that's when you become a superstar. And Trey Young proved he was the smallest guy in this series, but he played awfully big throughout the playoffs, and he's announced his arrival. This Hawks team announced their arrival, and I expect them to be in the fight in the Eastern Conference for years to come.
And when you say that Trey has closed the gap between him and Luka, something else that closes that gap, they got Cam Reddish in that deal.
That's
because
right.
They got the 10th pick, which turned into Cam Reddish. And it was a little rough starting out for him his rookie year, but now we're seeing him start to grow into something. What we're hoping is that these last couple of games where we've seen him really step up and play and hit shots the way he did, we're hoping that springboards him and gets his confidence going so that he can be that 3-and-D guy that they drafted him to be. Because if Cam Reddish steps up the way he did in this series, and then they get DeAndre Hunter.
It's going to be a lopsided trade.
And then we get DeAndre Hunter back.
Yep.
But just as Cam Reddish steps up, then no one will say this is, no one will say Dallas got the better of this deal.
No.
Because if Cam Reddish turns into what we know he can be, what his talent level says he can be, and they still have Trey, we're like, wow, these Hawks are really set up to do well.
Right now, I think it's 50-50. When you look at Luka and you look at Trey, you look at the numbers that they both put up, you look at the assists, you look at the shooting, you look at what Trey does and what Luka does, and then the fact that you add in Cam.
Yeah.
Look, it's already Atlanta won that trade. Both of them got significantly better. Both of them got great players, but the Hawks got two.
Yeah.
And Cam Reddish, I coached him at Jesus Nation when he was a young kid. He is going to be good. It's unfortunate, to your point. This might have been a different series if Hunter and Cam Reddish would have been healthy throughout the playoffs.
Right.
Without a doubt, a stunning run by the Atlanta Hawks, the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, finishing in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go ahead and listen in to Coach Nate McMillan.
It's just a resilient group. They've been doing this all season long, and I want to, thank the organization. Tony, Jamie, and Travis for the opportunity to work with this group. They've been a great group all season long. It was a huge challenge for them once Coach Pierce was let go. And I challenged those guys to be better, to do better, to sacrifice, to commit to each other, and they did. It just shows that when you get a group of guys just working together for the same common goal, they have talent. Every NBA team has talent. You can win games. And what they did this season it wasn't luck wasn't involved. It was hard work. It was sacrificing. It was committing to each other. It was trusting each other, and the effort was there every single night. And they played themselves into the Eastern Conference Finals. With a chance